And I didn't do it for a Nobel Prize. I did it because I'm saving a lot of lives.
US President Trump explains why he can't end the war in Ukraine. Most EU countries reject participation in Trump's peace board. Drone and missile attacks hit Russia. Blackout in Oryol. Power plant struck in Belgorod. The latest news next. US President Donald Trump explained why he cannot end the war in Ukraine. According to him, when one side is ready to end the war, the other, on the contrary, is not, according to a White House broadcast. Speaking at the White House, Trump once again said that he had already ended 8 wars, adding that no president had settled even a single one.
The reason I do it is because it's easy for me to do. And I didn't do it for a Nobel Prize. I did it because I'm saving a lot of lives.
He added that he is trying to end the last conflict, referring to the Russia-Ukraine war. In his speech, Trump explained why he has not been able to do so yet.
I'm trying to do Russia-Ukraine. And when Russia's ready, Ukraine's not. When Ukraine's ready, Russia's not. But they're losing 25,000 people a month on average. And I'm trying to get that one done.
The key to ending the war is pressure on Russia. Ukraine did not start this war, and Ukraine has consistently demonstrated its readiness for peace. It is Russia that continues the aggression, killing Ukrainians and destroying Ukrainian cities. Equating the aggressor with the victim is fundamentally wrong. Ukraine is ready to end the war once Russia stops its invasion, withdraws its troops, and ceases the violence. Therefore, international political, economic, and military pressure must be directed at Russia, not at Ukraine. Without this pressure, no negotiations can lead to a just and lasting peace. The Ukraine Prosperity Plan will not be signed at the World Economic Forum in Davos. Kyiv and Washington have not yet agreed on it, Axios reports. As the outlet writes, until recently, U.S. allies expected that at the Davos Forum, U.S. President Donald Trump's main contribution would be announcing the members of the Gaza Peace Board and signing the Ukraine Prosperity Plan. However, an unnamed Ukrainian official told the outlet that plans for Trump and President Volodymyr Zelensky to sign the Ukraine-related document have been cancelled. Meanwhile, a U.S. representative stated that no signing date had been set and that the document will require revision. About signing of the Prosperity Plan. Earlier, the Telegraph citing sources reported that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and US President Donald Trump could sign Ukrainians' $800 billion Prosperity Plan at the World Economic Forum in Davos. According to the outlet, Zelensky wanted to travel to Washington to finalize the economic agreement and arrangements on post-war security guarantees. However, allies from the so-called coalition of the willing persuaded him to cancel the visit to the White House and suggested Davos as a more suitable location for the meeting with Trump. Most European Union countries have rejected an invitation from US President Donald Trump to join the Peace Board. Financial Times reports, according to the publication, many in Europe fear that the Peace Board would sideline the United Nations as a platform for resolving global conflicts. As Financial Times sources explained, additional concerns in the European Union were also caused by the invitation extended to Russian dictator Vladimir Putin to join the body. The US president announced the creation of the Peace Board on January 16th. The executive committee includes Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, the president's son-in-law Jared Kushner, and former British Prime Minister Tony Blair. What is known about the Trump Peace Board? On January 15th, Donald Trump announced plans to create the so-called Peace Board, which would oversee post-war governance of the Gaza Strip. Later, Trump sent official invitations to world leaders proposing participation in the work of the Peace Board on Gaza. In total, representatives of 49 countries, as well as the European Commission, received such invitations. On Sunday, January 18th, Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban said that Donald Trump had invited Budapest to join the activities of the newly created Peace Board. The following day, January 19th, Russia said that the United States had approached Russian dictator Vladimir Putin with a proposal to join the Peace Board on Gaza. At the same time, Norway refused to participate in the Peace Board initiated by Donald Trump, noting that the idea does not align with the United Nations principles. Putin, seriously a terrorist on a peace board? Inviting Vladimir Putin to any so-called peace board is a complete contradiction in terms. Putin is not a peacemaker. He is the author of one of the bloodiest wars of the 21st century, responsible for mass killing, war crimes, and the destruction of entire cities in Ukraine, including Russia's dictator in the body meant to oversee peace, undermines the very idea of justice, accountability, and international law. You cannot build peace with those who systematically violate it. The US armed forces detained the oil tanker Sagitta in the Caribbean Sea. The vessel is under sanctions and is part of Russia's shadow fleet, according to a post by US Southern Command on the social media platform X. The command said that as part of Operation Southern Spear, the Department of War, the Pentagon, remains steadfast in its mission to suppress illegal activity in the Western Hemisphere in partnership with the US Coast Guard, the Department of Homeland Security, and the Department of Justice.
This morning, U.S. military forces, in support of the Department of Homeland Security, apprehended motor vessel Sagitta without incident. The apprehension of another tanker operating in defiance of President Trump's established quarantine of sanctioned vessels in the Caribbean demonstrates our resolve to ensure that the only oil leaving Venezuela will be oil that is coordinated properly and lawfully.
The war sanction website states that the oil tanker Sagitta, seized by the US, is part of Russia's shadow fleet and is under sanctions imposed by Ukraine, the UK, the US, Canada, the EU, Switzerland, Australia, and New Zealand. The vessel's profile states that during the period of the G7 Plus embargo and the price cap policy on Russian oil and petroleum products, the tanker was involved in exporting Russian oil and petroleum products from Russian ports in the Baltic Sea and the Pacific region, mainly to China and India, and that it restored to switching off its AIS signal and engaging in so-called dark activity at sea. The portal also notes that the International Environmental Organization Greenpeace classifies the tanker as part of the shadow fleet of tankers transporting Russian oil worldwide and as posing a threat to the environment. Unknown drones attacked the Afipsky oil refinery in Russia on the night of January 21st. A fire broke out at the facility, according to Russian media and the regional operations headquarters. It is reported that fragments of a drone fell on the refinery's premises, triggering the fire. There are no casualties or damage to infrastructure. The fire caused by falling fragments was quickly extinguished. Special and emergency services are working on site, the statement said. About attacks on the Afipsky oil refinery. The Afipsky oil refinery has been targeted by drones multiple times. For example, an attack on the refinery occurred in November, which was claimed by the Ukrainian Defense Forces. They carried out a drone operation that caused explosions and the fire at the facility. It was also reported that in September 2025, Ukrainian forces struck the Afipsky refinery in Russia's Krasnodar region, resulting in a fire at one of the processing units. Another incident at the same refinery occurred on August 28 last year during the night when drones hit the plant, triggering a fire. Additionally, on February 10, 2025, the Afipsky refinery was again targeted by Ukrainian drones. At the time, Andriy Kovalenko, head of the Center for Countering Disinformation, stated that this refinery is one of the key oil processing facilities in Russia. On the evening of Tuesday, January 20th, Russia was attacked by unknown drones and missiles targeting the cities of Oryol and Belgorod, according to Russian Telegram channels. According to online sources, the attack on Belgorod occurred after 8 p.m. Kyiv time. Posts claim that a missile strike hit the Detag Energot power plant, causing a large fire. Shortly after, the regional governor, Vyacheslav Gladkov, confirmed the attack, stating that it was carried out on the region's energy infrastructure.
As a result of the shelling, facilities within the region's energy complex were damaged. We are conducting demining operations and beginning emergency repairs. In addition, in Belgorod, the premises and equipment of one enterprise were damaged.
At the same time, there were no major disruptions in Belgorod, unlike in Oryol. According to SHOT subscribers, at around 9 p.m., more than 10 explosions were heard across Oryol. Meanwhile, videos circulated on social media allegedly showing drones attacking the local thermal power plant, causing a blackout in parts of the city. A little later, the governor of the Oryol region, Andrei Klitschkov, confirmed the information, stating that the region's fuel and energy infrastructure had been attacked.
Minor damage was inflicted on the region's fuel and energy infrastructure. In some homes in the Severny and Zhelezno-Dorozhny districts of Oryol, there are disruptions in electricity and water supply, and efforts are underway to restore services.
That's all for today. Thanks for watching this video. Support Ukraine, like and subscribe.